Hello students, today class is going to cover the section number 6 from the book, unit number 7, pages 114 and 115. As in the other video, I'm going to project some images to support the explanation, but basically I'm going to read from the book. Okay, so this this class is about metal ages, or as you have in your book, life in the copper, bronze and iron ages. So how did they live, and how they lived in this period. And as you can see in this cover, we can find several elements which are new. For example, the copper, from copper they use bronze, from bronze they use iron. They stopped using tools like in the Paleolithic. So this drawing is symbolizing the tools made in the Paleolithic with sharp edges, and they still used Neolithic techniques. So they used stones polished as in the Neolithic, but they created with metal. They created weapons, ornaments, or decorations, and other tools. The specialization of different occupations like in agriculture, in trade, craftsmanship and things like that make more complex the society. And when the society is more complex, we have also settlements much more complex with different houses and towns and walls to have the protection. Okay, good. I'm going to start reading from page 114. The copper, bronze and iron ages began around 4500 BC with the discovery of metallurgy, or the technique of metalworking, and it continued up until 1000 BC. During this period, around the 3250 BC, a number of peoples discovered writing, and as a result, history, properly speaking, began. Other peoples, in contrast, continued to live in prehistory. Well, we're going to see a timeline displaying the different stages in the late prehistory, we can say. Okay, we have the Stone Age here. Okay, the dates are not very clear, about the 5000 BC. Okay, different elements, remember, lives of farming, pottery, the invention of pottery, hand mills with pestles, Stone Age. Okay, and then we have the Bronze Age. Okay, in Bronze Age we have metalworking, we have different houses, walls and things like that. Okay, in Iron Age we have settlements and walls and different instruments and weapons, ornaments. This is a comb and this is a shield, different scales, but they are different tools made of iron. Well, the chronologies we have in the book are basically talking about the chronologies in the world. The first time than when the copper was discovered, but in Europe the chronologies were kind of a difference. Okay, so here we have the chronologies of Europe. So the copper and bronze were started to be used about the third millennium BC, so the 3000 BC more or less. Okay, and then we have that the Iron Age didn't finish in the 1000 BC. Actually, in Europe it started. So you can use the Asian chronologies or the European chronology. So you use the chronologies of your book, it's completely okay. But you have to know that in Spain the chronologies of from the book are not very accurate, because in the 4500 BC we didn't have, in the peninsula we didn't have copper or bronze or things like that. Okay, good. 6.1 is about metalworking. So we're going to talk about metals today, so we need to know more about those metals. Okay, so 6.1, the metallurgical peoples, metalworking. Okay, the first known metal noun to work in metalworking was the copper, around 4500 BC. It arose in the Neolithic and urban societies in the Fertile Crescent. Although, due to the limited durability of this metal, it was mostly used for adornments. So you have here a natural uh, copper as a nature as a raw material. Okay, it was very it was not very very hard, so it was used basically to do jewels and um, and ornaments. Okay, we continue. The search for more durable metals led to the use of bronze, an alloy of copper and tin. Okay, so here the image we have here on the screen, it's tin, Tin. This is a natural raw material, as copper is as well. So we use both of them to make an alloy. An alloy is not a natural metal. It is a mix of two different metals. Why did they use tin and copper to obtain bronze to make or to find a harder metal, a harder material? Because bronze is harder than uh, than copper. And this was discovered around 2200 BC. Eventually, around 1500 BC, the metallurgical process for iron production was discovered in a location between the Black Sea and the Armenian mountains, so about the northwestern areas of the Caucasus. Okay, this is a bronze axe. Okay, you can see here the edge. Okay, that was the handle, an element to put like a rope and an element to put it together to the handle. So this is the result of working with the bronze. Okay, and now we're going to have a picture about iron. Okay, this is iron, and they needed to melt it down with more complex techniques, because iron is harder than bronze, as bronze was harder than copper. Okay, so they were discovering and using more and more useful materials to do more and more useful tools and weapons and things like that. What we are going to see now is how this need for metals made created an explosion, a boom of commercial routes. We have here different routes of the European continent. Some of those routes are land routes by land, other ones were by sea, or Central Eastern Mediterranean, Western Mediterranean including the peninsula, or the Atlantic Ocean including the British Isles. Okay, good. Other economic activities I continue from the book. Agriculture and livestock farming continue to provide the basis for the economy, and artisan production continue to manufacture linen and wool textiles for clothes, as well as producing pottery. So it is true that they discovered metalworking, but they were they were still working in agriculture, livestock farming, or artisanal production. So they were doing pottery, as we can see in the image. They were useful things, useful discoveries. So they didn't stop once they discovered metalworking. Trade developed due to the need to obtain metals and exchange them for other products. As a result, routes running from the Fertile Crescent were developed in order to find these metals in Western and Central Europe. These routes were known as the metal routes. Okay, they were trying to find different metals in different areas of the Mediterranean. Specifically in the Iberian Peninsula, they found gold, silver, tin, okay, copper, and for example, the ancient name of the British Isles is the Cassiteride Islands, las Islas Cassiterides, which is reminding us the use of of the metal of copper. Okay, good. This is a map of trade in Europe. This is the process of metalworking techniques. Good. 6.2 New techniques, instruments, and inventions. Metalworking techniques were perfected over time. To begin with, metal was worked in a cold state by striking it with a hammer. Okay, so this is the first technique. So to work it in a cold state, you have an example on page 115, the three different types of working with metal. The first technique was very simple. It is to work it with a hammer, okay, working in a cold state. Then a forge was used in which the metal was heated in a fire while it was hammered. Finally, a foundry was used which heated the metals in a furnace until they became liquid. Then the liquid was poured into molds of the required shape. When it had cooled, the items were extracted and polished. Okay, so after the cold state, we have the process of casting. This image here is the metal casting. So they are working with a metal that is heated in a bonfire, on a fire, okay, on a forge, and then it is beaten using a hammer. Okay, so for example, you can't work in cold state with iron or maybe with bronze because you need to melt it. So you need this technique, okay, that is more complex. And the third type, or the third technique, the more complex technique, was to create a furnace that is this, okay, that is a very big oven, okay, furnaces, okay, and this is an instrument to feed the oven with oxygen and with air to maintain alive the fire, and put it inside the pieces of metal. With the high temperatures, the metal is melted, and then when liquid, it is poured into a mold with the shape that they wanted to give the instrument. Okay, those molds were basically made of stone. They were carved on stone. That person is doing a spear. Okay, a spear is the extreme of a weapon. And then once the metal is cold, so you can see here the color is gray, it is not yellow or oranges. So when it is cold, the different imperfections were eliminated and polished to obtain very soft surfaces. Okay, using these techniques, they constructed different instruments, weapons, and tools. Okay, I continue reading. Metalworking provided a great variety of tools, more durable agricultural tools such as hoes and sickles, remember hoes and sickles, weapons such as swords, axes, spears, and shields, and domestic utensils such as drinking vessels, jugs, and bowls. Okay, what do we have here? Here we have a set of elements of instruments that were used in Iron Age or Metal Ages. Okay, for example, we have small geometrical pieces of stone, of flint, bone, okay, and this is a piece of pottery with a hole in the middle that was used to sew, okay. This is the when you are making textiles, okay. Good. Pottery, bone, and stone were still used, but they constructed many new elements in copper, in bronze, and in iron to make better agricultural tools, to make holes on the ground. So those are better than the stones to be used in agriculture. Okay. Other elements they made were, for example, jewels. Okay, for example, we have rings, okay, for the arms, decorated jewelry, showing the high status of the people. Then we have jewels, like for example, elements to make necklaces or bracelets or small scrolls, basically to do decorations, to make decorations with your garments. We also have found different wooden clubs, so they are basically canes to be used by people, or sometimes they were made to work with, or they were made like weapons, or they were made to symbolizing the high status of a person. We don't know. And also we have the axes. Okay, they were used. Remember, when we say axes in the Metal Ages, we are not talking about weapons to be used in the war. An axe is basically used to cut wood or to be used in agriculture or in livestock farming or in construction. Okay. For example, those are very typical tools or very typical weapons that are axes made of bronze, okay, with only one handle, okay, and the part of the wooden piece we take with our hands was put in that element. So in that part of the axe is empty in the middle, okay, so this is not a block, this is empty, okay, there is a socket. Then we have swords, okay, different swords of different types. Swords are very ancient weapons. Swords in this period, Metal Ages, were of different techniques and they were used to make distinction between people, very powerful people. They were found in burials and in cemeteries, and basically they were used as a weapon probably, but maybe a symbol of status. This part is the handle, so this was like the spirit or like the nerve of the sword, okay. That part was not visible, that part was inside a piece of wood probably, or another metal or another material, but it was a part of the hand, okay. This is a complete set of elements. So we have here, for example, weapons like swords, okay, or daggers, smaller swords, okay, with different decorations, okay, bigger and smaller. We have, for example, spears. A spear is the part that we put at the top of a weapon. We have also arrowheads to put in an arrow, axes, okay, different type of axes, more swords here, vessels and pieces of pottery, helmets, necklaces, and all the type of jewels, okay. They are earrings, okay, necklaces. This is a fibula, that is basically a clip. Like today we have clips to clip the clothing, okay, the pieces of clothing. This is for the ring, a ring for an arm or for a finger, okay. We don't have the scale. So this is a very important element in archaeology, the fibulae or the clips, okay. And this is how they were found in burials, okay, in tombs. This is a spear, okay, this is vocabulary, spear made of iron. A shield, okay, made of iron too. A vessel, this is very famous, this is made of silver, okay, so it is used as a cauldron, as an element of rituals or things like that, so there is a lot of mystery surrounding this element. More pieces of pottery, so we have, for example, we have jars, we have like pots, like bowls, to cook, to put food inside, or liquids. It is not much decorated, maybe here there is decoration, but it's basically plain. Now, more inventions, revolutionary inventions in the Bronze and Iron Ages, and we reach to a very important point that you always talk about, that is the wheel, the invention of the wheel. Wheel was not invented by the Homo erectus, wheel was not invented in the Paleolithic, wheel was not invented by Jesus Christ, wheel was invented during the Metal Ages. I continue reading. The main inventions of the period were the wheel, the plough, and the sail. The wheel enabled the invention of the cart and the potter's wheel, okay, which revolutionized ground transport and pottery production. The plough, pulled by oxen or donkeys, enabled the ground to be worked more efficiently and for a greater area of land to be worked in less time. The sail made it possible for boats to be powered by the wind. Okay, so the wheel, okay, we have wheels here in this image. We have 5 wheels, you can say, but where do you find the 5 wheels if the cart has only 4? Because here we have another one, okay. In the potter's wheel, was an instrument with a mandrel that is connected with a wheel that is moved with the foot of the potterer, of the artisan. Okay, and moving this, the mandrel is moved, and another wheel here is moving the piece of pottery. So instead, using spirals to construct pottery by hand, they use pottery using potter's wheel. That's a great advance. Okay, then the wheel, made of wood or sometimes with metal structures, were used to transport people and trades, and also innerwear. Okay, so we have carts like this. That is a means of transport which was a revolution, revolved the concept we have of land transport, or transport by land. Sail. We know that humans navigated many time ago, much time ago, sorry, a long time ago, but much time ago, but many years ago, but the navigation um, in this period was evolving using the sails. The sail is this piece of fabric put on a boat to be to make possible the use of wind as a force. And then we have the plough, that is an instrument, a big instrument that is pulled by animals and allowed people to make bigger and deeper uh, sockets and holes in the ground. So agriculture and livestock farming were more and more important day after day and year after year. Those are examples of real wheels, okay, found in the history. Here, for example, we have a cart, so you can see here in the cart the horses, the four wheels, and the structure of the carts. Okay, the chariot, even with metal elements of bronze used to decorate it, used to make a decoration. The sail, okay, this is a paint as a boat that was not belonging to the period, but is very important for you to know what is the sail. The sail is the piece of fabric, and the plough. Okay, so that was bigger than the excavating stick, we can say, that was used in the Neolithic. Okay, animals were pulling this instrument, and that was buried on the ground, and as well as it was moving, it was making uh, a linear socket on the ground to be covered later with seeds to plants. Okay, we can see here how this worked. Other thing that we can say is the evolution of the housing. Okay, we have different structure of houses. Most of them were circular houses constructed with stones. Okay, a plinth of stone, a mat wall, and then a roof covered by vegetation. They also construct rudimentary walls with wooden elements. Okay, that we are going to find the internal structure of the house here. Okay, inside we have, for example, beds or banks. Okay, then ovens and different elements to live in the inside. This is an aerial photography of a very important settlement, that's Maiden Castle in southern England, and here we can see that it's enormous. This site is enormous, and this is one of the first Iron Ages, or the most important Iron Ages settlements we can talk about. And here is the village, so the houses were covering this space, and then we have different elements of the fence. Okay, because you have to know that in this period all their invention was the war, because they have more resources, their economy was more efficient, so the competition among different tribes was also more important. A representation of a house, okay, with that wooden wall, with also a wall made of earth that is called ramparts, different houses, okay, even we have a pen with animals inside probably. And this is a symbol or sorry, an image of a reconstruction of a wall using a plenty of stones, okay, with different structures of different wooden poles and pieces of wood to make the wall stronger. Okay, so we have finished the Iron Age and Metal Ages, and you have to remember the chronology, you have to remember the area, the different metals, and the different inventions. As you had in the other video, you have several exercises to do that basically are the exercise when on the exercise 4. Okay, so there are not many exercises, but you also have to do the summary of 6.1 and 6.2. Please make questions in the aula virtual and tell me if these things are useful for you, and we will continue with the next contents.